I would like to now invite Librian Anggreni. Some of you would probably interacted with her in the past or currently and know her as Ingi. She's our Deputy Director for Sustainability and Stakeholder Engagement, and she will now move on to present us with APP's progress update for the year 2019 and the new developments that we have in place for the next decade.
Hello, good evening, good morning. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today in APP Stakeholder Advisory Forum. Through the next few slides, I'm going to present to you on the stance of how is APP currently within its Vision 2020 achievement. And like Ellie mentioned before, we're going to unveil our target for the next decade as well tonight. Just to refresh everyone's mind about APP's commitment, back in 2012, we launched APP Sustainability Roadmap Vision 2020, which covers 10 impact areas that define APP goals for the year 2020. Those are consisting of fiber operations, forestry operations, such as the fiber sourcing, reforestation, conservation, and biodiversity, also including the aspect of social, including human rights and indigenous people, community empowerment, up into the mills operations to address the climate change, emissions, water management, solid waste, and employee welfare. To strengthen our commitment in terms of the fiber supply, in 2013, the year after, we also launched APP Forest Conservation Policy, which consisted of 4 pillars. The first one is the protection of the natural forest. The second one is sustainable peatland management. The third one addressing the global supply chain. And the fourth one is addressing APP social commitment. Through the next few slides, I'm going to go through a little bit about where we are right now in terms of those goals. It is the year 2020 already. In terms of the fiber sourcing, we maintain 100% of our fiber supply chain coming from sustainability managed plantation. We have zero natural forest conversion by APP power suppliers since 2013. In terms of the mills operations, our goals on emissions, we have managed to reduce 23% of carbon intensity, decrease compared to 2012 baseline. It is overachieving our target, which was 10%. In terms of solid waste goes to landfill, we have also exceed our target. Our initial target was 25% of solid waste reduction goes to landfill. We have achieved the number of 37% by 2020. In terms of the water management, we have also achieved 29% of water intensity, decrease from the baseline. It is also exceeding our target, which was only 10% at that time. In the next few slides, I'm going to highlight some of our mills' achievement in terms of those targets. For carbon emission reduction initiatives, our intention is to support Indonesia target on NDC. Over the years, we have done inventory and calculations of various operations, including the forestry operations that we have. Just last year, if you have a chance to attend our last year's Stakeholders Advisory Forum, we announced our calculation result where we engaged with Atamari, which is a carbon expert consulting. They help us in doing a modeling for carbon footprinting to measure the impact of our forest conservation policy commitment towards the carbon footprint. The result was that on 2017 until 2020, we have managed to have a carbon avoidance at 64% compared to business as usual. This is equivalent to removing around 9 million vehicles per year off the road. In terms of the mill's emission, we also calculate its carbon footprint, both at the operational level, which is at the mill level, and also at the product level. We also try to calculate the supply chain, so coming from the forest to the mills and up to the customers, how much is carbon footprint of product that we produce. The next step that we're going to do moving forward is to calculate and try to reduce how much carbon footprint that we have until it reaching the customer. The next environmental performance that we're going to highlight for you today is in terms of the renewable sources for APP energy sources. We're happy to report that right now over 50% of APP energy source is coming from renewable sources. The next one is in terms of waste recycling. We did report that we have reduced 37% of reduction of our waste going to landfill, and we did that with intensifying the waste recycling efforts that we did up to 2 times at the first time that we launched the commitment. The next slide is going to feature the water performance of our mills. At the initial target of the 10%, we have right now achieved 29% of water intensity reduction. The chart that you see in the screen right now is one of the features of the Lontar Papyrus mill in Jambi province. This mill produces pulp and tissue, and it shows that we have managed to reduce the water intensity, although the production is increasing over the years. The efforts that we did was starting with the implementation of the water footprint assessment, where we managed to identify area where we can save more water more effectively, and also implement the action plan based on the water footprint assessment. In terms of sustainable forest management certification, we're happy to report that 100% of APP's pulp suppliers' concession areas in Indonesia are aligned with BFC Sustainable Forest Management Standard. And all of APP pulp and paper mills in Indonesia are certified under BFC Chain of Custody certification. A little bit a glimpse of our China operations for 2019 sustainability highlight. In terms of the certification, it's similar with Indonesia. 92% of APP China forestry plantations are certified under the scheme of CFCC PEFC Sustainable Forest Management Standard. It has also completed APP supplier evaluation and risk assessment for its imported wood chips to ensure that all of those are coming from sustainable sources. In addition to that, APP major pulp and paper mills in China are also certified under PEFC Chain of Custody Standard and are able to produce PEFC certified products. In terms of the alternative energy, right now, 25% of APP China's total energy source are from biomass, black liquor, and solar panel, which are renewable sources. In terms of the waste management, 69% of the total waste are either recycled or used internally or being sold to external for reusing purposes. The next part of the update in terms of APP achievement of Sustainability Roadmap Vision 2020 is going to be highlighting a bit more on the forestry operations part and also on the social and employee part. In terms of reforestation, we have achieved 20,000 hectare areas with restoration progress. And for conservation and biodiversity goals, we managed to protect 600,000 hectare and less than 1% of the forest degradation in protected area in the past 3 years. Right now, 400,000 hectare in APP suppliers concessions, both in the conservation area and also in the plantation area, are used as roaming area or habitat of the 3 key animals, which is Sumatran tiger, Sumatran elephant, and also Bornean orangutan. In terms of human rights and indigenous people target, we would like to highlight that 51% of the land disputes are resolved. For community empowerment, we have achieved 335 villages implemented for our integrated forestry and farming system. This is below the number that we have targeted, which is 500 villages, but we are focusing on the quality of the implementation of the program as opposed to reaching or looking into meeting the 500 villages target. We realized that in implementing for the first 2 to 3 years, that it is most important to have a look at the quality of the programs in the village that we have implemented, as opposed to chasing the 500 villages target. So that's what we're doing right now. In terms of the climate change, we mentioned before, we have managed to have carbon avoidance of 64% by implementing FCP compared to business as usual. For employee welfare target, this is something that we have also continuously working on, as we have still fatalities in our mills operations. Today, I'd like to highlight again a bit on the Integrated Forestry and Farming System program that we launched 5 years ago, or Desa Makmur Peduli Api, or the DMPA. Just to remind everyone that our DMPA program is basically a program which aims to provide sustainable alternative livelihood for the community, so they don't have to do slash and burn or opening land using illegal activities. Right now, we have managed to do this program in 335 villages, focusing on 5 provinces where we have our concessions area, especially in areas that are prone to deforestation and fire. The implementation of the program right now has reached over 20,000 households, with focusing also on 82 women groups along the way. One of the good programs that we want to highlight today as well is on how we try to integrate the aspect of women empowerment in the DMPA program. Of course, APP is not an expert in terms of women empowerment and handicraft. That is why we engage a lot of partners. Among them are Dr. Shahrir Foundation and also Fintocraft, which is a well-known entrepreneurs in Indonesia handicraft world. Fintocraft is supporting us in providing capacity building for women in West and East Kalimantan that have the capability to do rattan weaving. So they have the initial capacity to do the rattan weaving, but they do not have the capacity or the capability to market their products and also to develop a products with the quality that is acceptable for market. So Dr. Shahrir Foundation and Fintocraft helping them to do that. And right now the products of these women groups have been accepted in various hotels and organizations as their merchandise as well. The next one is that the pictures that you are seeing in the screen right now is the cultivation, harvesting activities of some of the farmers in our DMPA program. We have red ginger, harvest of watermelon, and also harvest of corn. We are happy to report that by implementing our DMPA program, right now these farmers, which are at this pandemic situation, are very prone to difficult economic situation. Right now, they still continue to harvest, and because they have preliminary access to market, they are still able to overcome economic crisis. We are happy to report right now also they're not only contributing to the economic of their families, but also to the surrounding villages. In an effort to continuously develop and evolve our DMPA program, we are engaging with other partners to support us in improving the way that we implement the DMPA program. We are engaging with C4, ICRAF, the World Agroforestry, and also TNC to do research and also enhancing the business models that we do with the community of the DMPA program. We would like to also get their support in terms of the enhanced access to market, and also in time how to scale up the program not only in APP concession area but also across Indonesia. These are just the examples of the work that were done by C4, ICRAF, and TNC. Here you can see that the villages that we are targeting with them are the ones that are prone to fire and deforestation. So some of the approaches that they are doing is, of course, a participatory approach. Some of the FGD or the focus group discussions that they do on the ground is to dig a bit more on opportunities to build business plan and model at the community level, and also state of the use of fire in each of the villages that they are piloting. In addition to that, they are also trying to gauge the key commodities and potential of that area. This is the current stage that our project with C4, ICRAF, and TNC is right now. we are at the planning phase in terms of the development of the business model and plan development. In some of the villages in Riau, we have identified the agroforestry for the potential commodity that is going to be developed, which is cassava and melinjo tree, and also a potential for integrated animal husbandry and animal feed. The next stage for this is going to be implementing the financial analysis and also introducing and raising the awareness of preparation of land without burning. Of course, along the way, there are a lot of lessons learned, especially around how to synergize the program with existing programs enrolled by the government and other parties in the area. And we are working with these partners to overcome these challenges on the ground. Moving on into another highlight is on the program, the restoration program for degraded area in APP conservation area. Back in 2015, when we first starting to do the planning, we were engaging with the Forest Trust, right now known as the Earthworm Foundation, to do mapping of forested area in the protected forest and also HCS area in APP suppliers concessions. In 2017, so once we have done the mapping, we are engaging with university and research centers to try to develop a suitable methodology on restoration based on the area that we have selected. In 2018, the development of the methodology with those researchers have been completed, and the implementation of the methodology that was developed has been starting with the target of implementation of 30,000 hectares by 2019. By the end of 2019, we have achieved 70% of the target. It is determined by seeing the vegetation right now has increased into the young regeneration forest. Of course, there are still challenges within the implementation of the restoration, such as the propagation process of the local tree species or the fragmented and remote area of the restoration area. Another thing that we are doing is to define alternative species research. If you have a chance to follow the journey of our research in terms of alternative species, we have over the years shortlisted 12 species that were identified as suitable area to be planted in our area, in our concession area. We have did some research using a type of fungi, which is mycorrhiza, and right now we have come to the conclusion that the ones that were treated with this special fungi have shown a good percentage of regrowth, which is 50% when treated with mycorrhiza. Right now, we have reached this conclusion. The next stage is going to be a trialing in the actual field on the forest. In addition to the trialing using mycorrhiza, right now we also have a special nursery in Riau province. This is a dedicated nursery for alternative species, local species that is identified as rare or endangered. The capacity of this nursery is right now has reached 300,000 seedlings per year. Some of the key species that we want to highlight in that nursery is ramin, Orgonistylus bancanus. Ramin is previously, this is a native species in Indonesia. It is previously overexploited because it is very precious to be used as furniture, often exported outside Indonesia and listed in IUCN Red List as vulnerable. We also engage a research center, the Biotechnology Research and Development Agency under the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, to support us in the research and propagationing, to do propagation of the ramin seed. Right now, the progress is made in terms of propagation using macro cutting, and currently we are working on propagation using micro cutting or using tissue culture. Right now, there are 7,000 ramin seedlings that we have, and 1,000 of them is ready to plant cuttings. Sorry. We are also happy to report that due to this collaboration with the research agency, we have managed to take a collections of ramin families in Indonesia, and right now APP Forestry R&D have the most complete collection of ramin families coming from 4 populations in Indonesia, which is West Kalimantan, Central Kalimantan, Riau, and Jambi. Another species that we'd like to focus on is the meranti or Sorea balangeran, also a native species in Indonesia and also listed in IUCN Red List as critically endangered. This type of wood is also very precious for construction and right now difficult to find. We work together also with the University of Gajah Mada Research Center to develop seedling collections from its natural habitat to develop a substance and also vegetative propagations. Right now, Sorea balangeran has been planted in a total of 200 hectares of protected areas across APP suppliers. It's supporting the restoration and ecosystem enrichment efforts that we are doing right now. Moving on to the next highlight is in terms of the wildlife. Perhaps this might be more interesting to some of you. Sorry. So in terms of the targets and focus that APP is having up to 2020, we are focusing on these 3 key species, which is Sumatran tiger, Sumatran elephant, and Borneo orangutan. In APP concessions, both in plantations and conservation, are used by these 3 key species as a roaming area or for their habitat as well. We do, of course, wildlife inventory in terms of trying to protect them. Right now, what we have inventorized is that in terms of the tiger, there are minimum 54 individuals and 69 individuals in our concession area with a birth rate of 4 births per year. We do the same inventory as well for elephants and orangutan. Specific for tiger, we are happy to report that since our commitment in 2012, up until right now, there are more than 40 tiger cubs have given birth within our concessions area. This is a very good news for us because it defines that our concession area is a comfortable population area for the tigers. It is proven that tigers can only give birth in an area that is comfortable for them, identified as having enough food and prey and also enough water. Of course, in terms of the in the protection of this wildlife, we do not do this alone. We work together with the experts on the ground. Some of them is the Forum Harimau Kita or Tiger Forum and Tiger Heart volunteer work. Some of the activities that we do with them on the ground is snare sweeping, where in the recent ones that we did, we have managed to get more than 70 snares in tiger roaming areas. In terms of the elephants, the Oki landscape where we are located in South Sumatra is one of the less Sumatran elephant habitat pockets. We have implemented in the Oki landscape a wildlife-friendly forest management practices. This includes enrichment planting for elephant feeds in the elephant corridors, as well as socialization and education to local stakeholders and workers to avoid human-elephant conflict. Currently, there are around 110 individual Sumatran elephants in the Oki landscape. We have now reached the end of the updates of APP stance in terms of our goal for Vision 2020. We don't do this alone. Our achievements are supported by these partners that have supported us along the way through their expertise, their implementation on the ground, and also their feedback towards the implementation on the ground. We'd like to thank these partners as well, and we would like to continue to work with them toward the next targets. The next part of the presentation is that we are going to unveil our Vision 2030. The development of the 2030 targets has been done since late 2017. It has gone through various stakeholder consultations, internal consultations, and also benchmarking with global and local best practices as well. some of the things that fits into the development of APP Sustainability Roadmap Vision 2030 are, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals. We also benchmark with global and national level documents and legislations. We have also benchmarked with standards such as the UN Global Compact, WBCSD, FSC, and PEFC. We have feedback from internal stakeholders and also the local stakeholders that lives around our operations. We have feedback and benchmark with our customers, industry peers, NGO, and also media. So the evolution from the Sustainability Roadmap 2020 is that the 10 impact area, we are trying to group them into 3 main pillars, which is production, forest, and people. For production and products, our main goal is the 30% reduction in carbon footprint, and those will be achieved by breaking down into targets of lower carbon footprint and innovative products. The second pillar is on the forest operations. Our target is over 500,000 hectares of natural forest conserved. Those are broken down into various targets such as the fiber sourcing, forest protection, and integrated fire management. The next part of our goal is in terms of the people. Our commitment is improving the lives of millions. Those are broken down into smaller targets, which is sustainable livelihood, workforce management, and business ethics and code of conduct. These detailed goals will be available in APP Sustainability Dashboard, which my colleague will be sharing with you right after this presentation. Of course, we would like to take you with us along the way in the implementation of our Vision 2030 goals. We are going to be constantly updating you on our achievement and our challenges on the ground and get feedback from you on how we can further improve our practices on the ground as well. These achievements, the targets of where we are right now, is going to be reported in APP Sustainability Reports, which is developed using GRI and third-party verified. And also it's going to be available to public in our new sustainability dashboard. We are also going to be continuously reporting it through existing platforms such as the Carbon Disclosure Project and also Spot platform. Thank you very much. Over to you, Lech.